Okay, students, in this video I'm going to show you how to solve two problems by using the LCD. Again, this is rational equations using the least common denominator. So in example one, we have a problem that has three different, it looks like it's three different denominators. And so what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to find the LCD. Before we try to find the LCD, it is a good idea to try to factor out the denominators to see if there's any common factors. So if you factor the first denominator, it factors into this. It factors into x squared times x plus 5. And so again, this denominator really becomes that when you factor it out. And so the LCD is the smallest term, or the smallest amount that is divisible by all the denominators. So we need an LCD that LCD needs to have an x squared, and it needs to have an x plus 5 because all of the denominators have those terms. So we have an x squared and x plus 5. So the first thing we typically do is we leave the original problem the way it is. We're just going to copy it over. Notice I copy the factor denominator. And one of the things that I was going to say is I'm going to give myself a lot of space. So here we go. Okay, and then we're going to multiply everything by the LCD. We're going to multiply the original problem. We're going to multiply everything by the LCD, which is x squared parentheses x plus 5. Sorry, x plus 5. I should erase that, otherwise it's going to be confusing. X squared parentheses x plus 5. Like so. All right, and the reason why we do that is because all the denominators are going to divide out in the next step. Take a look at it. Here, on the first fraction on the left side of the equal sign, the x squared divides with the x squared, and the x plus 5 divides with the x plus 5, leaving us with a nice and easy number to deal with, which is 5. On the second fraction here, that x plus 5 is going to cancel with that x plus 5, and it's going to give us 4x squared. I should not be using the word cancel, it's divide out, right? Okay, on the next fraction, the x squared is going to divide out with the x squared. It's going to give us an x plus 5. And now notice how this is a quadratic equation. To solve a quadratic equation, we need to move all the numbers to one side of the equal sign, leaving us with a 0 on the left side. Nicely, the 5's add up to 0 in this case. And so we end up with a quadratic binomial. The way we solve quadratic binomials is by factoring out what they have in common, in this case x. And we get a 4x plus 1 inside the parentheses. The zero product property allows us to say that either x is equal to 0 or 4x plus 1 is equal to 0. And so x is equal to negative 1/4 if you solve for x in this simple linear equation, and x is equal to 0. Now we gotta be careful when we write the answers and we leave the answers like this because we think it's the answer, but take a look at this. Are we allowed to substitute 0, say here, in the original problem? And the answer is no. When that's the case, we say that 0 looks like it's a solution, but it's not really a solution. We cross it out and we call it extraneous, because that's what we call them, extraneous solutions. And so the only answer here is x equal to negative 1/4. Okay, so here's the first example: how to solve rational equations by the LCD method. The hardest part, again, I think, is finding the LCD. I want to do one more example. Hopefully this makes it easier for you to understand it. Okay, so let's move on to example number 2. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and erase that solutions part so we don't get confused. Okay, and so here it is. Example number 2. Notice that I gave myself a lot of space right there to start with. That way I don't have to rewrite the problem over again. before we try to find the LCD, I'm going to write it down here. We need to factor out the denominators and see what terms they have in common. So on the first denominator, if you factor out the x, we end up with an x plus 1. There's nothing to do on the middle denominator, but on this other one, it's the same thing. So my LCD then should have one of each of the terms that you see here. So it needs to have an x, and it needs to have an x plus 1. Okay, so my LCD, I'm gonna use red for the LCD, is x parentheses x plus 1. So I'm gonna multiply. I wanna avoid space here. I'm gonna use my space wisely. So pretend this is the denominator down here. Pretend this is the denominator here. And so by multiplying everything by the LCD, by multiplying everything by x parentheses x plus 1, x parentheses x plus 1, and x parentheses x plus 1, we're going to see that a lot of stuff divides out. Actually, everything divides out on the left denominator right here. Oops, I meant to cross it out, not erase it. So all of that divides with all of that. So it's going to leave us an x plus 5. Okay. On that other side, the x plus 5, and on the other fraction, I should say, x plus 1 and x plus 1 divide. And it's going to leave us with an x minus 6 times x. We got to be careful here when we distribute this. And everything on the right side simplifies. Be careful with this part. All of this divides with all of this. And that doesn't just disappear, it becomes 0. It gives us a 1 times a 1, which is 1. Okay, so we have to distribute, combine like terms here. By doing this. And we're going to combine like terms on the left side. We get x squared, positive x and negative 6x makes negative 5x. Don't forget that positive 5, and don't forget that we still have a 1 on the right side, which we're going to subtract. Five minus 1 is 4. And then this is a quadratic equation. We're going to try factoring before we do quadratic equation or anything similar to that. So x minus 4 and x minus 1 multiplied to 4 and add up to negative 5. So the solutions are four or 1. You gotta go back and check that these numbers don't give us any division by 0. You could check visually or algebraically. Substituting a 4 in the original problem does not give us any division by 0 here or here or here. So that means both of these solutions, or the one doesn't give us division by 0 either. So both of these are solutions. You could always check your answers on decimals by typing the left side of the equation, typing the right side of the equation, and see where the two graphs intersect. So I'm going to show you, I already have pre-typed those two equations. All I have to do now is click on them. And you're going to see that these two graphs intersect here and here. I don't know why I have those extra points there, but okay. The intersections are when x equals 4 and when x equals 1. As you can see there, that matches with our solution. X equals 1 right here, x equals 4 right there. Those are the solutions for our problem here. All right, this is the end of this video. If you need more help, keep watching, searching up more videos like this. And I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day.